I have a message from God for you. What's up, y'all, and welcome back to another week of reading the Bible. 52 weeks, whole year reading the Bible. We're on week 6 now. I know I'm a little bit behind. I had a birthday last week. A lot of life stuff happened. But I still was reading. Okay? I just haven't had the chance to record, so it's going to be 2 this week. So, yeah. Also want to do something different. I don't know, I'm just experimenting, got the honorable mentions into the regular video, which I think was pretty cool. But now, as I've been reading, I'm like, I think I want to say a few more verses. Maybe sometimes I don't want to say certain verses, so this is just going to be my favorite verses from my reading. No longer top 7. It's hard to choose 7. The Bible's so good, So just my top verses. These are my top verses from my week 6 reading of the Bible. Starting off week 6, Thursday, first reading was Job chapters 11 and 12. Found my favorite verse in chapter 12, verse 10 reads, "In his hand is the life of every creature and the breath of all mankind." This verse alone just makes me reflect on how, the Lord is in control of every life. It's not just mankind. Yes, it says in the breath of all mankind, but in his hand is the life of every creature. It's the life of Jazzy, It's the life of that squirrel out there who's constantly digging to try to find a nut in this winter time. It's the life of those deer that's out there too, that just randomly show up in the city. I don't know how deer work in the city and how they just appear, but they somehow survive until they don't. Yeah, it's just cool how God is in control of all that, Friday's reading was the book of Isaiah, chapters 29 through 33. I got a few verses on here that I wanted to read. I loved Isaiah 29 verse 13 that states, "The Lord says, these people come near me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Their worship of me is based on merely human rules they have been taught." This verse makes me just reflect on, am I saying I love the Lord just with my mouth, or do I demonstrate that, in the way that I walk, in the way that my posture is? Is my heart for the Lord? And I encourage you to reflect on that too, and I think this verse also just reminds me of just making sure that you have your own faith. It says that their worship of me is based merely on human rules they have been taught. Thankfully, I was raised in a church, and I've been taught certain things, but it's like, for you to get that deeper relationship with the Lord, you got to explore your own faith. You got to understand who Jesus is to you. And I find that very important. Another verse I liked was in chapter 30, verse 18 of Isaiah. States, "Yet the Lord longs to be gracious to you. Therefore, he will rise up and show compassion. For the Lord is a God of justice. Blessed are all who wait on him." Chose this verse just based on just how it describes his character. He is a God of justice, and he longs to be gracious to you. Think about longing for something. You want it to happen. He's there for us. He wants to care for us. He wants to show justice. We've been wronged, and just the main thing here I see in this verse is just, blessed are all who wait on him. Wait on the Lord. He's going to handle whatever it is that's in your life. Trust in him. He will rise up to show you compassion. Saturday's reading was Matthew chapter 14 through 16. Got some verses here. I liked chapter 15, verse 11, where Jesus said, "What goes into someone's mouth does not defile them, but what comes out of their mouth is what defiles them." This goes back to kind of like what we were talking about in Isaiah. We worship with our lips and everything, but hearts are far from him. It's about what comes out, because what comes out is coming from what's inside of the heart. So if you speak in these foul things, then that heart must be pretty foul. You got to have a new heart posture. And so, also I think this verse makes me think about just keeping in mind of what are we saying, just in general, watching our tongue. So this verse, I'm gonna write on my whiteboard, and I'm gonna just look at this and reflect and make sure that I'm not saying things I shouldn't be saying. Next verse I like is also in chapter 15, is verse 36. And this was when Jesus took the loaves. He took 7 loaves and a fish, and he gave thanks. He broke them, and then they fed all the people. A lot of people was fed. Thousands of people were fed. I have this verse just because I can imagine what that looked like. Like, I just feel like it was an endless loop of the same thing. If he had it in a basket, maybe there's certain versions that said he had it in a basket or something. I'm just missing it. If he had it in a basket and he just keeps reaching the basket, it's kind of like I imagine like a magician who's pulling stuff out of the hat. And it's like, how is all this stuff in the hat? That's how I imagine Jesus was because there's like, ain't no way he's like breaking the bread. Like he's holding it and he's breaking it, and then suddenly it's still there. I don't know how that would work. I feel like the only way was like if it was in a basket. That's why I love this verse. It just makes me think. It's just like, how did he do it? Also loved in chapter 16, verse 24, Jesus said to his disciples, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves, take up their cross, and follow me. This goes back to what we were talking about last week about taking up your cross. What are you willing to sacrifice to follow Jesus? You have to sacrifice to follow Jesus, whatever that is. But in the long run, it's definitely well worth it. Make that sacrifice, take up your cross, follow him. We on this road together. Yeah. Last verse that I liked in this reading was in chapter 16, verse 26. It states, what good will it be for someone to gain the world, yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? This just makes me reflect on, let's not be so bound on this earthly stuff. Like, don't be like, man, I really want this money. I really want this house, this, that, and the other. Because all this stuff, you can't take it to the grave. I know y'all probably heard that saying. It don't matter how rich you are or whatnot, or how many possessions you have, your grave is still 6 feet. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And like, you can't take it with you to the afterlife. So do not forfeit your soul for this stuff. Get that eternal life through Jesus. He will bless you with whatever is meant for you here. Follow him, trust him. Don't lose your soul for stuff that's here, that's fleeting and passing away. Sunday's reading was Romans chapter 11 and 12. I found my favorite verses in chapter 12. I got 3 of them here. So chapter 12, verse 2. Paul said, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. This goes back to what we were just talking about. Do not conform to the pattern of this world. Do not be all up in this world, but be transformed by it. Not doing the norm. And then in that way, you can test and approve what God's will is. Now, when you're in line with God's will, then you good to go, because you know what he has for you, and what he has for you is good, pleasing, and perfect. This is such a straightforward verse. Paul he was preaching. So my next one, chapter 12, verse 6. We have different gifts according to the grace given to us. To each of us, if your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. And then he talks about other gifts. I love this just because I think about this often. Like, we're all part of the body of Christ, and we all have different gifts. So express your gift. Whatever that is, express it. Not everyone's gonna have the same gift as you, but your gift, no matter what it is important to the mission. Last verse is also in chapter 12, of course. States, if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone, if it is possible, Paul states. So make that effort to try to seek peace with people. Try not to, have that strife, have that resentment. Don't envy, all that jazz. Seek peace, because peace is rare these days, So try your best to seek peace with everyone. Next reading was on Monday of Genesis chapter 20 through 23. And I liked chapter 23, verse 14 and 15. And it states that when Ephron answered Abraham, saying to him, listen to me, Lord. Listen to me, my Lord. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. But what is that between me and you? Bury your dead. I thought this verse was so real. Just looking back at it, like that was a homie right there. That was a homie move. It's like, hey, what's 400 shekels of silver between me and you, man? Like, nah, you can have this land, bro. Like, take it, bury your dead, bro. Like, you my dog. Certain things are worth more than money. Those relationships you have with people, like, I think about that when I go out with homies, go out to eat and stuff. It's like, I got the bill, man. Like, what? Nah, man. It's like, nah, I got you. Unless I don't got you, then I hope you got me sometimes. Because what is $20 between me and you? Eat your food. Enjoy that meal on me. Know that fullness in your tummy, I did that. You're welcome. Also, like chapter 22, verses 1 through 13. I'm not going to read all that, but this was when Abraham was sacrificing his son, Isaac. Crazy time, and it just shows that his faithfulness and willing to sacrifice his only son, his promised son. Well, not his only son. My bad, Ishmael. That's on me, bro. But it just shows that, because Isaac was the one that was promised. Everyone was supposed to come through him. Abraham was willing to sacrifice. He trusts the Lord. And just reading that, it just made me a little bit emotional. It's just like, man, like, what faith and what belief in the Lord, like, to be willing to sacrifice your son like that, the one you've been waiting for. Man. Tuesday's reading. So we finally got into Judges chapter, and then this was chapters 1 through 6. I found a lot of good verses in Judges, actually. I liked chapter 6, 1 through 40, because basically this whole thing was Gideon testing the Lord to be convinced of, like, the Lord, you're gonna do what you saying, Lord, then prove to me, do this, do that. The Lord had to have so much patience for Gideon. I can't imagine testing the Lord like that, and then the Lord just like keep on following through. Like, I'm good off one, and honestly, I'm good if I don't. Why would I even test the Lord? I don't know, man. Gideon was built different. Also, like chapter 4, verse 21. This was when Jael, I don't know how to say her name. Jael? It's probably Jael. But she killed that one dude. Crazy stuff. I forget if he was probably like the king or something. I should have put more of the verse down. Great story though. Anyways, like, he was sleeping, she gave him milk, I remember that, and then he went to sleep. She's like, nah, rest up, I'll make sure that they don't find you. And then she grabbed a tent peg and a hammer, and while he was asleep, she drove it through his skull. I can't imagine. Be careful who crib you go into, brothers. She may have a peg and a hammer for you, for your skull. Also, like chapter 3, verses 20 through 23. And this one was about Ehud. This one was crazy because, it talks about how Ehud was a left-hander, and he had the sword in there, and he went to go kill the king, right? And he said before, the toughest thing, he was like, I have a message from God for you. Like, bro, what? And then the king, hold on. I have a message from God for you. And then the blade, because the king was so fat, the blade just went through and sank. Bro couldn't even pull the sword out. He dipped afterwards. Like, what is Judges? This is crazy. Also, I liked chapter 2, verses 10 through 12. And this one made me sad because talks about after the whole generation had been gathered to their ancestors, another generation grew up who knew neither the Lord nor what he'd done for Israel. So then they started serving other gods and then provoking the Lord to anger. This one was kind of sad for me. It's like, makes you think about like, hey, let's remember what the Lord has brought not just us out of, but also, you know, our family members, our aunts, uncles, grandparents, all that. Just because, you know, let's not forget the good that he does, and let's not serve other idols. Israel was horrible for that stuff, man. The Israelites, crazy. Because they just didn't know. They didn't know. And more reason to talk about your testimony too and what the Lord's done for you. Last readings was on Wednesday of week 6. It was Psalms chapter 15 through 17. I like the verse from chapter 16, verse 2. It states, I say to the Lord, you are my Lord. Apart from you, I have no good thing. Solid verse. Honestly, apart from the Lord, what do we have? He is good. I have no good thing being apart from him. He is my Lord. Just, I don't know, good song there. Also, I like chapter 17, verse 6. I call on you, my God, for you will answer me and turn your ear to me and hear my prayer. I love the imagery of this, like calling on the Lord, you know, calling on God for whatever we may have, you know, during our prayer, and thinking about him just, you know, his ear being turned and listening like, okay, I got you. I might not grant that ain't my will, but I'm here. It also says in the verse that, you know, for you will answer me. So whatever it is, you know, the Lord's going to hear you in your prayer and he will answer you, whatever that answer may be. He will answer you. It may not be an answer that you like. It may not be, you know, what you're looking for, but the Lord, he's not going to leave you hanging. Pray to him, trust in him. Yeah. And that concludes reading the Bible 52 weeks, all year long, every day. This is week 6. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in week 7.